Verse 18. But God led the people around by the way of the wilderness toward the Red Sea. And the people of Israel went up out of the land of Egypt, equipped for battle. Right. So, what do we see here? And this is now where I spoke about the seeming contradiction. Seemingly contradiction again. Now, what God did was He led them down and then through the Red Sea. Now, I understand. Oh man, as many people, I've mentioned this well a number of times now. As many people there are, Bible scholars, scientists, wherever, everyone has to say, right? A lot of it has to do with ultimately disbelief or not, or not a lack of faith or no faith at all. And so it's not scientifically possible. So therefore they could not cross the Red Sea. It ought to have been the Reed Sea, which is not so deep. Reed, well, in English it sounds the same. And it's not very deep, so they could have crossed, right? And I remember this joke about the kid coming back from Sunday school, and he said how his Sunday school teacher told him about how God led him through the Reed Sea, and they walked through it, and there was just about this much water there, kind of idea. And then the little boy would say, "Wow, what a miracle God did! He drowned the whole army of Pharaoh in this little bit of water." Now, I guess it's possible, but yeah, some people would rather believe that, liberals or atheists, whoever. I mean, they understand me, don't believe in. Liberal Christians would rather believe that than that God could spread the sea. Now, I would hold to the fact that God could, not just because there's a sandbank and then the wind blew strong. Yes, wind blew, and then scientifically, I've seen that as well. No, but I believe there's more. Even if only the wind, then that specific wind in that specific time with the people at that spot. Or God knew that at that spot, by chance, the wind is going so strong to blow so strong over there that the sea will open and the people can walk through. And then, luckily, when Pharaoh comes, then it will, the wind will stop blowing. The wind is there for God. I mean, yeah, right. No. God used the wind. Sure, He could have, but He's still the one who led them there. Okay, now we will get back to this as well. So He led them not through, He led them through towards the Red Sea. And the last part of the sentence, this verse, is they were equipped for battle. The last part of the previous verse was God saying, I'm not leading them this way so that they won't see battle, see war return to Egypt. And in this verse now we suddenly see, oh no, they were all ready for battle. Okay, so let's face it, this does seem a little strange. Okay, there's lots of things that seems very strange in the Bible, but if you just think a little bit about it. So why is the previous part stated that God didn't take them there? Because they were not ready. He didn't want them to see battle. It shows that they had no reason. So that part shows clearly that God is not didn't create any reason. Their mumbling and groaning has nothing to do with God. That verse points toward that. Okay, so therefore there's this connection. Here is a different connection. It's not connected to that part, it's connected to something else. Okay, so before the people can then just say, okay, so God did not want us to see war, so we are not supposed to fight any wars. And therefore He didn't lead us there. No, God didn't lead them to see immediately wars, so as not to grumble, and then have a legal excuse to grumble at God, and God would then be kind of guilty. But then at the same time, the people need to be reminded at the same time that war's going to happen. And when they left, they were ready for fighting. Ready? They were ready. It's like, I can do this. It's like someone seeing weights, okay? And it's like, oh, that's easy to lift. I can lift that before even trying to lift it. And he tries to lift it and he breaks his back and he can't lift it, kind of idea, right? Thinking that they can do something. So like, yes, we are warriors. We can fight any kind of war. But in actual fact, they were not ready. They were not ready to fight any kind of war. Why? Because they were slaves. They were not trained soldiers. So they had to go through. So the connection, therefore, in the end of the previous verse is to show that God did everything perfect. God took care of them. God didn't give them a reason to moan and groan. Therefore, no warfare. In this part, warriors, they were ready for war because they will need to fight. So that the people will say, oh, God doesn't want us to see any warfare, but at the same time, we're ready to. It's a little bit like, maybe you can compare it to something easier where Jesus spoke about judgment. And then Christians say, Jesus said, but you're not supposed to judge, right? And then we don't judge. So don't say anything against the anointed, the spirit, etc., etc. You're not allowed to judge, all those kinds of nonsense. But Jesus judged the whole time. Jesus judged the whole time, so he contradicted his words. No, he did not. You're supposed to judge with a righteous judgment. So in other words, there's the right way of doing things and the wrong way of using something. So the right way of being, they had to be prepared for wars because there's going to be wars that they need to fight. But at the same time, at this stage, unbeknownst to them, but known to God, they were not ready yet, although they thought they could. Again, maybe like a little child. I can ride a bicycle before even trying. Gets on a bicycle, falls over, blood everywhere, right? That kind of idea. God knows. Your parents know. No, you can't. You need to be trained. So they don't put you on a bicycle when you can't. This is exactly the same thing that happened here. So no contradiction, not seemingly, not two different peoples and two different writers, two different groups of writers writing it down, coming to the different conclusions, something like that. No, it all makes sense. There's a context, there's a line going, it's like two water falling on here. One part might go off in one direction, another part in a different direction, depending on which side of a rock it falls, kind of. And one might end up in this Indian Ocean, another one in the Pacific Ocean. Now here is not going, here it's just going to end up in the Bay of Bengal. But in China, for example, even in the Himalayas it can happen. And the Himalayas is not that far from here to the north, but quite a distance because we're in Meghalaya. Just let me show you a little bit of, so this is a little bit of this place here. Okay, so the wettest Mosram, the wettest place on earth. Okay, here's the escarpment, the edge. Okay. So if you come here now, you'll know where to come. Just through the village, past the village, through it. Because it's kind of difficult to trust Google Earth. Kind of very difficult. Even this spot is not in the right place. It's closer than lots of places they show, Google Earth that is, but it's not in the right place. So it's a little bit more to the north of where it shows on the Google Earth. Maybe I'll just change it on the map. People can see where it in actual fact is.